Hey guys, welcome to OldWayz number 70.
Hey, who would imagine we'd make it all the way to 70?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's been a ride.
It has been.
It's been a good one. It's been a good one. I apologize for the space between 69 and 70, but y'all, it's just been one of those springs. After I retired, I was sick most of the month of April. After the gathering, I got sick and stayed sick for about 2 weeks. Yeah, it was right after the gathering.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's going on in your world?
Well, we did a hangout at the lake a couple of days ago. And then after that, it was fun, but, it's starting to get a little too warm. And so, as we talked about, I'm having to kind of watch my exposure to the being too hot.
Right.
So I'm probably going to be down on the camping until September at least. But other than that, it's going to be a lot of projects I got coming up. Have been promising on my channel to do the Nomad Haversack.
Right.
And so I'm going to do that. Now that it's going to be, have to be inside during the day. I got time to do it now. So y'all are going, on my channel, you're going to see a lot of that popping up. Other than that, and you wanted to go to Blade Show.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would like to go to Blade Show this coming weekend.
Yeah. So probably when you're seeing this, we'll be at Blade Show.
We'll be at Blade Show.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I will be in the shadow of the great hat.
Oh, yeah. Unless you want us to post these on Friday.
Why not?
Okay. All right. Friday, if you're seeing this on Friday, it means we're going to be in Atlanta at Blade Show tomorrow. So we'll do it that way.
Which will be Saturday.
We are free and independent. We can post these anytime we want.
We are retired gentlemen.
Yeah. I never worked so much in my life as in retirement.
I'm finding that to be true.
It is. I mean, you make a list of everything that you wanted to do, that you needed to do, and you didn't have time. And you start working down that list, and it just opens a Pandora's box of more things that, well, yeah, you're right,
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that they never knew there was that much work to be done until after they retired. I'm beginning to understand what they're talking about.
I had a old Chevy pickup. There was an old 77 C10 pickup. Mm-hmm. Had big old holes in the fenders and everything else. And it was a truck. The first owner of a truck don't get a truck. They're worried about keeping it nice and payments and resale value.
Right.
The second guy, the third guy, he gets a truck.
He gets the truck.
He ain't scared to ricochet down through the briars, jump over things. It don't matter. Corrugated fenders are a badge of honor. Just run it. But
either that or you got teenage sons.
Yeah. It was an old beat up old truck, and I got tired of there were holes in the floor. And what I originally wanted, I wanted a stereo in it. And so I took the seat out so I could lay on the floor and be able to reach up under the dash and take out the old radio and a lot of improvised wiring up in there. I got all that out and I got a stereo in. And then I went, well, long as the seat's out, now'd be a good time to fix the holes in the floor.
I mean, while you're there, you might as well.
And then it was, now'd be a good time to take some old army pads and glue in some sound deadening and maybe take some of that cheap fake carpet and put on top of it.
Yeah.
And then when went to 3 years of a full restoration project. And when I finally got done, the truck looked brand new. I had put a new engine, new transmission in it. I mean, full upholstery, new paint, the whole dang 9 yards. So that's kind of like what retirement is. You think, well, all I got to do is I need to do that in that back 40.
Yeah, and then there's always that infamous honeydew list.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're not working this weekend, so, especially I retired and she's not yet.
So you have a double honeydew. I
got a double honeydew list. That's okay. Love her to death. She's been putting up with me for 35 years, so okay. So, at Blade Show, you looking for anything in particular?
No. Just a fun day.
Yeah, go up and take a look,
Yeah.
see what it is.
Yep. Just a fun day. We were up there 3 years ago,
Yeah, I think it was 3.
something like 3 years ago, and had a great time. Met a bunch of folks. It was a good time. I enjoyed it.
I think this is also the weekend, or it ought to be right around in here, is the weekend for the Pathfinder gathering. So they probably won't be at Blade Show because they're probably going to be doing the Pathfinder gathering in Ohio. So I was just sitting there thinking about who all we saw up there at it. I know William won't be at it.
No.
You know.
We saw Matt Mercer and Sean Kelly and Dave.
And Dave, yeah.
We met them.
And Kevin Baxter.
Yes. And Kevin.
And the other, that's where you first met him, Matt.
Yes.
All of them. It was a good time.
It really was. I enjoyed it.
If you've never been to Blade Show, it is a sea of people with knives.
Literally.
Literally.
Take the biggest ballroom that you can think of and double it.
It's like a full Walmart Supercenter inside that room.
And they've got like 4 of those rooms.
Yeah.
It's massive.
And they ran, when me, Dan, William, and Randy went up there, it was 180-something thousand people came through in that 48 hours. So, guy's firing up to go get his boat over here at the boat landing. Obviously, it's a stealth model.
Oh, absolutely. But anyway.
Yeah.
It is a public access lake. Who are we to complain?
I ain't complaining.
Little update for me. I did get that. I told y'all I did get the loaf of sourdough bread made, but it was kind of dense, if we will. We're going to be doing a loaf. I'm practicing making loaves. I didn't realize that sourdough was as complicated as it is, but I'm going to stick it out.
It's an art form.
It is most definitely an art form. On his live, we have a follower named Grey Wolf, who's from Alaska. And yes, the starter is valid, sir. It is a robust starter. God knows I've abused it enough. But there will be, as soon as I get it fine-tuned and dialed in, there will be a video coming up on sourdough. And I've also got some requests about beginner camp knives, beginner handguns. What would I recommend? We'll be going to the range, talking about that. I can't go to the range without him because I'm not a member. But we'll be talking about that too. We need to do that from a shooting range for safety reasons.
Well, you know, if you were going to, and of course I know everybody that knows me is going to say, ask me, which cap and ball would you carry? Well, the 36 gives you more shots per pound of lead and powder and is more than adequate, and it will do anything that a 38 will do. A 44 holds more shots, so if you're looking one to use for snake loads, a 44 is a better choice. Or if you're around anything bigger that you might need actually for defense, 44 would be better. But as far as an actual sidearm for a lot of people, I like just a plain old 38. You can get shot shells for it. It does the job. It isn't a big magnum. The guns are not normally that heavy, and they do a really good job.
Yeah, for a starter, for a total novice, I would not recommend a cap and ball.
No.
Because it's too complicated to load. And you have to load it just right or it's going to mess up. And as a novice shooter, the last thing you need is something going sideways.
Especially at a crucial moment.
Yeah. But I'm going to be talking about revolvers versus automatics. Going to be talking about, I'm probably not going to touch much on cap and ball because that's his meat and potatoes. Okay. And I respect that line. But with my years of training, I feel like I might have something to offer.
Yeah, I think you would.
With an automatic, not to get too far off in the head of the game, with an automatic you have to count and you have to think. Because there's lots of ways that they can be brought to an immediate halt. But we'll go into that in that video. I've been asked about knives. I've got some ideas about knives. Now, with all due love and respect, William Collins is the absolute knife magician. He's the knife wizard. His knives are absolutely, without a doubt, the finest knives that I know of. Okay.
We're not saying they ain't really good knives. There's lots of really good knives out there.
There's lots of really good knives out there.
But I have held and used a great deal of Williams knives now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the finest knives I've ever had.
Yes.
You know.
He's got more than I do, but I've got, let's see, the Hunter, the WCSK, I've got the neck knife, and I've got the chef's knife. So I've got 4 of Williams knives, and those knives are investments. If you're a novice in the art of woodscraft, that's not going to be your best thing to do. My recommendation is start a little farther down the list and build up to that investment. We both encourage you, without a shadow of a doubt, to buy a Williams knife, but learn how to use a knife before you do that. Crawl before you walk, and walk before you run. Okay.
Once you've put in the time, you'll naturally want something a bit better, because I have more knives that are $25 knives.
Yeah.
Great knives, you know, they really are. They're a little narrow, they're a little thin. You got to be kind of careful with them. You can't hog on them a lot, but they do a fantastic job. And then I recommend for the step up is to go for like a Condor bush lower, which is a classic bushcraft type design. A little thicker, a little more backbone in it. You can do a bit more of the heavy work on it. And then when you want to step up to something else, look at some of the Pathfinder knives. They're around $150.
Yeah. And
they're handmade. They're really well made. They're good knives. And then whenever you decide you want to go up from that, go talk to William. Yeah, that's where I tell people just to progress. Then go talk to William.
Yeah.
Because you've got the time invested and you do want something nicer.
Yeah.
And everything. Yeah, then do it.
A WC knife is a knife you can hand off to your children.
Yeah.
Or hand off to your grandchildren.
But
it is definitely an investment.
Definitely. But at the same time, whenever you start out, you're going to make mistakes. I mean, that's just life. Right. And we would much rather you screw up a $25 Mora because you didn't realize you couldn't pry on it or stand on it or whatever. And I had somebody send me a video of where they nailed this knife into a tree, and then all 250 something pounds of him stood on the handle and bounced.
That was a WCSK one.
It was.
Yeah.
Of course, it didn't go. But the thing about it is my thought was, why do you want to abuse a knife like that? You know, yes, I have confidence it would, but why would you want to abuse a knife? You know, yeah. This is a knife. This is not a splitting wedge.
No.
This is not, and go get an axe if you need to do that kind of work. Know the tools and realize what you can do with them. Yeah, it's great to not have to tote something, but at the same time, I've seen people break really expensive gear out of ignorance.
And to clarify, there's a big difference between ignorance and stupidity.
Yeah.
Okay.
They look a lot alike.
They look a lot alike. They sound a lot alike. They're different.
But they are different. I had a good friend of mine that back when we were doing the ultralight, he invested like, I think it was like $300, which would be like $800 in today's money, on this super light backpack. The backpack only weighed like 2.5 pounds. And yeah, he was going for the ultra lightest he could do. And yeah, it was the lightest. I was using an old canvas rucksack. I've still got that old canvas rucksack 30 years later. That super light sack that he spent so much money on, I think he got 24 or 25 campouts. And then all the seams were starting to split on it. You know, it wasn't holding up. And he's not somebody that's super abusive. It's just he would load it up and he would go on these 10-day hikes and stuff like that. And it just doesn't have the longevity because it was basically, they call it some fancy name, but really it's a type of plastic material. And when you go to sew plastic to plastic, you punch a hole in it. And that hole doesn't heal. That hole keeps getting bigger and bigger until eventually it tears. And either it cuts the thread because those sharp edges saw the thread, in which case your seams give out, and that's what happened. The back seam went opening up on it. He was up hiking to Cheehaw, and he said he was getting nearly to the top, and he was pushing kind of hard trying to make it on time. He started hearing something hit the ground behind him. And he turned around, and his pack had opened up, and stuff was falling out of his pack.
Well, think about it. With those light materials, you hold it up, you can see sunlight through it.
Yeah, it's that thin.
It's that thin because it has to be that light. Mm-hmm. And as you're moving, as you're just doing your thing, those seams are doing this.
Yeah.
And when those seams do this, they're going to wallow out. It can't be helped.
Yes, it's light, but it doesn't have longevity. I used to see a lot in the hammock hangers for them. Guys would get this super light, like parachute nylon, and they'd make a full-size hammock, and they were bragging about the whole hammock weighed like 18 ounces or something like that. And they would put up pictures of it, and then it wouldn't be a month, maybe 2 months, and suddenly it'd be a post. Hammock failed, and they'd have a picture of it split wide open. You know.
I wonder why.
And hammock failed, and the material, yes, it could hold you, but it is at its maximum limit to hold you. And so one little pinhole, a pine needle poked through it, your keys on your belt, something scratched, something caused the abuse, something whatever started it, and as soon as it let go, it let go.
The knife on your belt. Yeah,
the knife on your belt. Something just caused it, and it's like a balloon popping. It's great until there's a hole.
This is my EDC lock blade. Okay, y'all have seen it in videos before. Mm-hmm. This little thing right here on the tip is a glass breaker. That will punch a hole through material. Just laying in a hammock. Mm-hmm. This thing will punch a hole through the hammock. Mm-hmm. Whether you intend to do it or not, there's still going to be a hole in your hammock. If I can remember it, this thing never gets in my hammock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's just it. Once you make a hole, there's very little ways to repair it. Just like a friend of mine called up, and they had one of them above ground swimming pools, and his son had poked a hole in it.
Oh boy!
And water had leaked down to there. And he wanted to know how he could fix it. He said, I put duct tape on the side of it and it won't hold it. No, because the water pressure increases, it just forces it off. Yeah. You got to put a patch on the inside, something that won't suck through the hole. And I told him, I said, go get a 1 foot square of vinyl material and drain the water down and use contact cement and glue it on and start looking for a replacement, because eventually, sooner or later, you jumping in, causing pressure, sooner or later it's going to split and you're going for a ride.
That's like in the late 18th and early 19th century, during the age of sail, there was a technique called fothering, Fothering. Mm-hmm. And what you did was you took an old piece of sailcloth. Let's say you'd been in a battle and your enemy had punched a hole beneath your waterline. Mm-hmm. With a cannonball. What you did was you take a piece of sailcloth and you feed rope through it so that it looks like fingers through the material. Mm-hmm. And you work it down and over the hole, and it actually will suck the patch to the hole. And then you can tar it in place. Mm-hmm. And pump your hole out. Mm-hmm. your hold out.
Get the extra water out.
Yeah. Now, it's not a perfect thing. You're not going to stop the leak, but you will make the leak manageable, okay, by using that material. And it's the same thing with his pool, okay? Yeah, you can slow it down, but you're not going to stop it. So,
same
good
thing
luck.
with the sleeping pad. If you're carrying a self-inflating sleeping pad, you better have a patch kit with you, because you won't see that little stub of some little something that's got cut off, smaller than a pencil, sticking up. And you'll lay down on it and it'll poke a hole in it, and then you'll wake up flat on because them pads rely a lot. Yeah, it's a good foam pad, but still it relies a lot on that air. And when it ain't got air, it's not nearly as good. And I had one on one of our trips, one of the early thermarests. And what had happened was a fish hook had hooked the rucksack in the canoe and had poked a hole in it, and I didn't realize it. Well, later that night, I rolled it out. I didn't have to inflate it because it can suck in air. That's just the foam expanding, see. I laid down on it, and it wasn't long for I was on bare ground. And it was strictly because of that. And I didn't have any duct tape or nothing I could patch it with. If you've got something that requires air pressure or whatever, you have a patch kit. If you've got a canoe and you're canoeing or kayaking, have duct tape or something, or some method of patching a hole just in case.
And I don't care how clean you think your campsite is, there's going to be the odd, well, in our case, pine cone leaf.
Yeah.
The little, not necessarily the pine straw, but the actual cone off of the leaf off of the cone. They've got little barbs on the end of them. They will punch a hole through the bottom of a tent. They will punch a hole through the bottom of your air mattress. It's going to happen. Rocks, twigs.
When you take your tarp down and lay it on the ground to fold it up, you get a piece of glass laying there you didn't see. I have tore tarps before like that, where I've taken it down and went and spread it out flat to fold it up and ended up putting a hole in it.
Yeah. And it might, you might just nick the fabric. So you've got just cut threads. And over time, that's going to fray. That's going to work its way out and open. And
that's why duct tape is your friend.
Yeah.
Good duct tape. I have patched together canoes. I have patched together tarps and just about anything. I have had to melt pine sap before on the side of the river. We had a hole got knocked in the bottom of a canoe, an aluminum canoe, and it was about the size of a number 2 pencil. There was a board in the river that had a nail sticking up.
And you just in all that river, you just happened to find it.
I happened to hit it, and it harpooned right through the bottom because we were moving at a pretty good clip. And of course, when it hit, the nail wallered out as it came out.
Of course.
And so I had a leak, and so the only thing we could do was I took pine pitch and made it up and made a patch pine pitch around it, and took one of them old big old broad hickory leaves and put over it, because I didn't have anything. And put a hickory leaf over it and made sure I stayed in the middle of the river for the next 18 miles to the takeout. Watching it like a hawk, waiting to see any moment now it's going to let go again. But it stayed stuck and just kept the water out just long enough for us to get out of there. But I always carried something to patch with after that.
Yeah.
The best thing, which you can't get them anymore, remember the old 18-wheeler rubber patches for the inner tubes?
Yes.
They were 6 to 8 inches in diameter. Peel it off, stick it on there. I patched canoes with it, camper shell tops with it.
Just food for thought. If you have an extra fishing cork with a hole that small, plug it up with the cork and pitch it. Put your pine pitch around it. That would work well.
Well, I had thought about trying to shove a stick in it.
Yeah.
But I was afraid the water current working against it. I wanted something kind of flat.
Yes.
So I put that big old oak leaf up there on that hot pitch and pressed it down, and it was fairly thick leaf.
Yeah, they are.
And it did hold it well enough for me to get out of there. But it was a valuable lesson. If you're going out there, you better have some way to patch this thing. Our good friend Don Davis, we were going to canoe down at Grouch's Lane, and he had an inflatable kayak. And I could tell just by looking at this that this was going to be an adventure. And
Don, isn't it always?
Don, it's always. And he had swamped about 6 times before we got to the end of that trip. He was soaking wet by the time we got in, made the 4.5 hour trip. Because it's like being on top of a marshmallow. It just wants to roll every which way because it's just air under you,
yeah.
You know. And so Don leaned one way, it'd squirt out from under his butt the other way, it'd end up in the deck. So, yes, it carried him technically down the creek, but yeah. Always think. I was surprised it didn't get punctured. I was sure something was going to hang a rock on the bottom or something, drag her across a piece of concrete or something.
You had already checked that box.
I already knew what was coming. So.
Oh Lord! But anyway, that's kind of the things we've got to look forward to for videos and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if you happen to be out canoeing this summer, you got a couple of good ideas about patching.
Mm-hmm.
What else have we got going on?
Oh, let me see. We wanted to do where we talked about doing the Dutch oven with the biscuits using the pre-made up. We'll do that as a joint one.
Yeah.
And
that makes me think we do have some requests for cooking around camp.
Mm-hmm.
One of them that's going to be really interesting is I had a request for making jerky.
Mm-hmm.
And jerky it's not hard.
Mm-mm.
Okay, it's not hard, but it's very, very time consuming. And I don't know if we would build a rack.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't decided if we would take saplings and build a rack and put coals underneath it and let it dry that way, or do it in the home oven, or
I voted the home oven with air conditioning. Because having done that, especially whenever it's our summertime and it's 100+ degrees with heat index, and then you're going to maintain a low fire for hours.
Literally hours.
Literally hours, because it normally takes about 4 to 6 hours to really dry it out.
The advantage to doing it in the home oven is you can hang it over your top rack and put a tray or something underneath it to catch the drippings, and put it down at its low, put the oven on its lowest setting, crack the door, and go to bed.
Yeah. We used to take him, we'd put toothpicks and put it through the highest up rack, slide and have them hanging, and then we'd put aluminum foil underneath it to catch dripping, and go to bed and let it just go for 8 hours, and then in the morning we'd check. You'd have some that was already fully done and some that was partial, and you pulled out the ones that were fully done, and you kept the partials in there until they were done.
I hadn't thought about it, but I've got that dryer.
Mm-hmm.
And I had not even thought about it till right now. I haven't had the dryer out this year.
Yeah, use that dryer.
I could use my dryer too.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Because we're talking to people about homesteading and everything else.
Right. That would be probably a good option to make some jerky.
Mm-hmm.
Fill up all the little trays except the bottom one, and then line it with wax paper or something, or parchment paper, and let it do its thing.
Well, several videos ago, we did where we put dry beans and all and did that vacuum canning.
Yeah.
Okay, I pulled out one of those out of the cabinet the other night and made the beans. And I had somebody was talking about wanting to do
Somebody had done the 15 bean soup.
15 bean
That's
soup.
what it was in the last live.
They were talking about that, and I had somebody ask me, said, would you do something showing recipes with 15 bean soup? And I said, sure. You just got to put ham hock in it or some hunk of meat and boil it. I liked ham hock and au jus. Best is to get the bahia, the jowl meat.
Yeah.
Put that into a crock pot and let it go until it's going to go about 6 hours or more till the meat is dissolved down and you got all the juice. Then you add the water, then you add the beans, and you cook about 2 hours and make the beans out of that. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
It was a great way to, a lot of that stuff we would recycle because you cooked this big thing of a roast or something like that in a Dutch oven in the stove or something. Well, the drippings, what was left of it, you'd add water to that and add the beans and stuff to it, and that would become a side dish for the next day or something like that.
Tim, you're the guy that made the request about the jerky. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand on it a little bit with, of course, his help into pemmican. We're going to do a little bit of pemmican as well. Pemmican is a step past jerky, and it's almost as easy as making jerky. It truly is.
Well, the advantage to pemmican is, pemmican you see a lot in the northern reaches because it's so much lard and so much fat, and they need that in the cold winter climate.
Right.
You know, you didn't see pemmican so much down here. Down here it was jerky and other things because in our heat we didn't need that kind of RPM. But yeah, we both had it in living history, made it for living history.
Yeah. There was something else that came to mind. The jerky, the pemmican. What was that third thing?
I don't know.
I lost it, guys. Sorry.
That'll be in number 71.
OldWayz 71. Yeah. Hardtack might be a good one to throw in.
Yeah. Bake hardtack. Hardtack's one of them things, when you learn the recipe, you got to work to screw it up.
You're bad.
When you pull it out and it's a concrete block, you did good.
Yes,
you know.
You did really good. And it will last virtually forever in a vacuum bag.
Yeah. And then you use it for cooking. You pound it up, you bust it up, you add it into soup, stews as a thickener.
Yeah, I know what it was. Portable soup. I have tried to make portable soup in the past, and it was a unmitigated disaster. I could not get it to work to save my neck. But John Townsend on the Townsend channel did. And if you're interested in a portable soup, go look it up on his channel, on the Townsend channel. But we're going to try that here too, along with the jerky and the pemmican and the hardtack. We're going to do that.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
She who must be obeyed.
Yes. But your pass doesn't expire for another several hours.
I know, but you know, she had a thought that she thought I needed to know.
Good.
What's the secret to a long marriage? Communication and learning the phrase, yes, dear. After 35 years of marriage, whenever she says, we're going to blah, 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 and I go, yes, dear.
Yes, dear.
She's learned to stop, because that means, okay, I'm about to screw up, and he's going to let me screw up. So now I got to figure out why. And you'll see her stew on it. She's like, okay, what am I doing wrong? You thought this was going to happen, but this is going to happen. Oh, okay. Communication, that's the secret to it. Let her take her lead. When I've got my ideas, she says, okay, baby, go, you know. But at the same time, it's kind of like when you're married and you hear when the wife says, fine, with that, fine, yeah, you know something.
There's nothing fine about it.
Just put your hat up. We've got a discussion to go because something is not fitting one way or the other.
Or baby.
Or baby. And so whenever I say, okay, baby, she knows. And go ahead. Bam, that didn't work, did it? Who knew that putting 400 pounds on a box of Cheerios wouldn't work? You got another idea, baby?
But it looked like it would hold it.
It looked like it would hold it. Yep, it sure did, baby. Got another idea? Watching something break and having peaceful moment is worth it, you know.
Yeah, when you say, well, I don't think that will work, but we'll try it. I really want to try it.
Okay.
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 Here's A, B, and C reason why I don't think it will, but because you want to, we'll do it.
I don't even give her A, B, and C. I'd say, okay, baby. And if she doesn't pick up on that, she's got her spurs set, she's going for that, let her go.
Yeah.
This is called an experiment moment. She's got an idea that she wants to try.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, hey, many times I've been wrong. It's actually worked. And I will be the first to admit that. I'm serious. I have. I've looked at her and went, honey, I was wrong. I didn't think this would work. But go right ahead. You did good.
You did good. And always be free with a compliment.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. When she does something good, tell her.
Don't be critical and be free with a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
She will love you for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, anything else, brother?
I think we've about rode this horse as far as we can ride it.
All right.
Like we said, you'll probably be seeing this on Friday, which means we will be at Blade Show in Atlanta the next day, barring any unforeseen circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So, until next time, I'm Bear.
I'm Blackie.
And we'll see you down the road.